Hello there, and welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with your host, Agostino Zinga, and this is episode number 813. That is Ocho Uno Tres of the Agostino Zinga Show, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of East London. What's going on? What's crack-a-lacking? How you doing? How you feeling? Welcome back to the show. I hope you are good wherever you may be. I hope you are feeling fine and dandy. How am I? Not too good. I'm not going to lie. Not too good. Things are not looking very rosy for my dear United. Things are not looking rosy at all for United. I'm not really too sure where there is going to be some light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't feel like there's any light at the end of the tunnel. It feels like things are kind of awry and all over the place. And I'm going to be speaking about a little bit of that today on today's very special Agostino Zinga Show. Thank you for those of you tuning in. Before we continue, fresh off the press, I'm sure some of you who are fashion orientated know this news already. But it's absolutely crazy. Out of the blue, I did not expect this one because this guy actually has already another job. So I didn't expect him to take another job on top of the other job. But I guess, immigrant mentality and that. So as some of you might be aware, Haider Ackerman was appointed creative director of Tom Ford recently, just a few hours ago. It's been confirmed that Haider Ackerman will be the new creative director of Tom Ford. Pretty astounding. It's a bit sad for the previous designer. I think was it like Peter Hawking? I think his name was. He was only in there for like a year. This was after obviously Tom Ford hung up his hat and decided to retire and just live the life of a recluse creative somewhere, giving great interviews and just chilling. But that guy that joined, if I'm not mistaken, was somebody that worked at Tom Ford for like 2 decades and then only lasted in the big seat for like a year. So it shows how brutal fashion's at the top. The moment you try to be the main person, the moment you try to pop your head up from out and under of the industry, you take over and then wow, you get out of a year. So he lasted 20 years in the actual industry working for Tom Ford, but when he was in the big seat, only lasted a year. So kind of felt bad for the dude. I just assumed because it's Tom Ford, I just assumed they were going to go in-house again and just get somebody else from the studio to kind of take over. But I guess now they're trying to maybe revamp and come and basically try again with Tom Ford and have it make a big splash again. So it'll be crazy to see what Haider Ackerman does. Haider Ackerman, I think if I'm not mistaken, has not been involved in fashion maybe since 2019, 2020, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I think his namesake label, I think he shut that down during COVID. I'm pretty sure. I'm not too sure what the reason was behind it. I don't really know much about sales, but from just street style stuff, I remember a lot of Haider Ackerman things, especially some of his menswear pieces, a lot of the trousers, a lot of the shirts. They were very popular with a lot of like influencers and stuff. So a lot of people were wearing them, and he has this really, I think, unique vision of masculinity. It's very sensual, it's very chic, very sexy, very masculine in his own way. But it's just something that you don't usually get on the high street with a lot of, in fashion in general with a lot of designers. So I do like the way that he cuts. I do like the way that he's cast. I do like the way that he puts his shows together. And to be completely honest, especially in menswear, we've been missing his voice. We've been missing his sensibilities, his aesthetic. We don't really get that anymore. You can't really get it from other designers, really, for the lack of a better term. So I'm happy to see him back. Happy to see him back. So it is courtesy of GQ. It says Haider Ackerman, the new creative director of Tom Ford. It says Haider Ackerman, new creative of Tom Ford. Ackerman's first collection will be shown in Paris on Fashion Week in March 2025. It is with tremendous pride that I will seek to honor the legacy of Tom Ford, a man I have long admired and have utmost respect for. I am much looking forward to what lies ahead. I'd assume every person, anyone involved in fashion, especially if you're a designer, you must have immense, respect for Tom Ford and what he's done and his legacy and the things that he's been able to do when he was at the top of the game. Even someone like myself, I'm just a fucking fan from the outside, but I remember how obsessed I was with Tom Ford coming up, reading every single interview, watching every single interview, consuming all the content. I even went to watch a single man in the cinema when it came out. Do you know what I mean? And I never go to the cinema. So Tom Ford was a real inspiration, I think, to everybody. So I can only imagine how excited Haider Ackerman must be about this new role. Ackerman succeeds the British designer and longtime Tom Ford understudy Peter Hawkins, who left the role in July. Fashion fans on social media immediately rejoiced at the news, as did one very important observer, Tom Ford himself, who retired in 2023. Tom Ford himself says, "I have long been a great fan of Haider's work." Wow. I wonder if Tom Ford actually played a role in selecting him for the position. Maybe they realized that Peter Hawkins thing, even though he's in-house and he's been in the company for a while, maybe he was just trying to, because I think some of the criticism about Peter Hawkins, if I remember, because I saw a couple of collections and I just saw him, what he looks like. He was basically trying to emulate Tom. He basically kind of looked like him. He dressed like him. Same glasses. The collections were kind of similar. It was almost like an ode, like a celebration of Tom Ford and his legacy. And maybe what they actually want someone to come in with a different sort of like idea, point of view, and really kind of imbue it on the brand itself. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to just like copying or building upon what he did previously, I would imagine. And maybe now, maybe they thought that would work, right? Just let's just get someone in to kind of steady the ship. But now maybe they want, we'd rather just like try with somebody that has a unique voice. And then obviously we can carve our own lane in the menswear field, because if he does get it right, if Haider Ackerman does get it right, this could be big. This could be big. Like I said, there's a lot of designers out there that do what he does very well. Tom Ford said, I've been a great fan of Haider's work. I find both his women's wear and menswear equally compelling. He is an incredible colorist. His tailoring is sharp and above all is modern. We share many of the same historical references, and I could not be more excited to see what he does with the brand. Personally, I prefer his men's. As great as the women's wear was, it sometimes, for me anyway, because I'm looking at it from a men's point of view, it did end up just looking like a women's version of the men's, as opposed to its own thing. I do kind of prefer the men's stuff. Added Tom Ford president and CEO Guillaume Jussel said, Haider stands out as one of the world's most visionary and inspiring talents of fashion. He draws on this deep affinity for global culture and the arts to create arresting fashion and memorable emotional connections. He is the ideal steward to usher Tom Ford into the future. In recent years, a Colombian-French designer was named routinely and floated for just about every open CD job on the market. Yeah, true. That's a big point. He has been the one that's been on the lips of everybody in terms of, where is he going to go? Recently, if I'm not mistaken, he did get a role at Canada Goose. So I'm assuming, more than likely, Canada Goose is going to go bye-bye. I'm assuming if you get a job at Tom Ford and you get a chance to kind of do fashion again, and I'd imagine the reason why this would be such a hard job to turn down, maybe let's say Haider Ackerman's namesake label, as much as I loved it and adored it, I never bought anything from the collection itself. I just admired it from afar. So maybe there was a bunch of people like us that did that, and maybe it didn't really sell too well. And maybe it was just like, like most things in fashion, it just cost too much to run. And eventually you kind of run out of money, run out of investment. It had to kind of shut it, especially during the pandemic, when a lot of brands kind of ended during that whole time. I think Dion Lee and a few others ended during the pandemic. So quite a few fashion brands didn't survive the pandemic. Makes sense. So maybe this is an ideal situation to come back to, because not only do you get to work, on work for like a brand that wants to be legendary. You get to work with a legendary namesake designer. Maybe he might consult or give you some pointers, who knows. But you also get a chance to do fashion and just have it be a job. It's not your namesake label. Do you know what I mean? You're not the one going out there trying to raise investment. You're not in board. You are on board meetings, but you're not doing the businessy side of things. You're just there to be the creative director, and that must be super freeing. So more than likely, we probably might see the best version of Haider Ackerman here, because he's not going to be stretched and kind of pulled in different directions. He's just going to be required to create great collections, season in, season out, and kind of go from there. But I would assume someone like him, maybe the Canada Goose thing was a thing like a stopgap. Do you know what I mean? And now maybe he wants to kind of do his own thing. So let's see what happens. I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm curious to see what he does with the Canada Goose thing. Will he keep doing it as well at the same time that he's doing Tom Ford? Will he eventually drop Canada Goose and focus on Tom Ford? Will the Canada Goose thing, or would the Canada Goose people be smart and decide, hey, we want you on board. We want you to fucking lux up and refine what we already have and kind of push us in different markets, push us in different sectors. We're willing to kind of change the requirements of how you work and say, hey, you can basically pick your schedule. You can pick where you work. You can pick where your head office is, where your studio is. Just let us know what you want and we'll make it work. Because in theory, if you're being honest, it actually works for Canada Goose. if they have the Tom Ford designer also designing for them, it makes kind of Goose look good. So they should probably try and work something out and not have him decide, oh, it's either us or them. Because if it is, then Tom Ford's the easiest choice. So congratulations to Haider Ackerman. Honestly, it's just an amazing appointment. I'm really eager to see him back on the runway or back in the Fashion Week calendar again. I've missed his aesthetic, missed his presence, and I can't wait to see what he does under Tom Ford. Welcome back, Haider Ackerman. Continuing on with fashion news, we've got another bit of exclusive fashion news regarding someone that I love as well, and a former Saint Laurent or a former Yves Saint Laurent designer, Stefano Pilati, is also back, and this time he's back on the high street. ZARA's taps Stefano Pilati for the coed capsule. Absolutely amazing news. So for a while, a lot of people have been murmuring, and there's been rumors on social, where's Stefano Pilati going to go? Because I think for the last 6 weeks or so, he's been posting loads of archive pictures of himself from his previous tenures at different fashion houses and stuff, showing us what he did, reminding us of how amazing he was. Loads of BTS editorial runway things, just like a real treasure trove of things. And to be honest, Stefano Pilati, I think is well regarded by like heads. But I think in general, maybe casual fashion fans don't really give him the respect that he deserves, or maybe because he was, you know, designer at Yves Saint Laurent maybe before social media was a thing. Maybe that was the issue. But I think people kind of overlook his tenure. Like, he did some amazing things when he was like at his peak, but he kind of, I guess, pulled away from the scene or the industry after his last job, and then kind of started up Random Identities, which felt like more like his kind of passion project, side project on the side. Kind of drop whenever it needs to drop. If anything, the main thing I remember from Random Identities that I'd always liked were these shoes that he made. These amazing boots with this really huge high heel. There was one particular one that he did particularly when it first came out. I think it was this sort of heel. It was more of a wedge. It also came in like a cow, I think like a cheetah print, if I'm not mistaken. I just love, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they also came in a lookbook with a pair of trousers that were almost slightly sort of flared. So they kind of covered the entire of the top of the boot as well. So yeah, you also got the cheetah print as well. So I also loved Random Identities. I thought the price point of Random Identities was really good as well. You could get some really nice pants and jackets and shit, all for under like £300 and stuff. They used to sell it on Essence. Not too sure if they still have it on there. Let me actually check it up. Actually, do they have Random Identities on Essence? Because I remember that was one of the brands I used to always like double check whenever there was a sale. I would always double check Essence to double check if they see, because they always would have some minor great things on there, like a great pair of pants. You know what I mean? All these type of things would always be on there. So let me actually see what they have on here. Let's go on Essence. Let's see what they've got left over from Random Identities. Now we can continue on with the article. So yeah, the brand was started in 2017. As you can see here, courtesy of Essence, veteran designer Stefano Pilati's newest project, Random Identities, a collection of ready-to-wear primed for our digitized age, channeling lessons of dizzyingly comprehensive. What did I say? Dizzyingly comprehensive. Where'd you go? Dizzying comprehensive career across top fashion brands, including Miu Miu, Yves Saint Laurent, and Zegna. Zegna was actually his last before he left the industry, I guess, at large. But as you can see here, really nice, clean basics. Loads of great jackets. They've done loads of great trenches over the years, and just some nice bits and pieces over the time that I've been a fan of. And of course, this chain that they do as well, that's also been something that I've always had my eye on and on the wish list as well. So big up Stefano Pilati. So the news here, courtesy of WWD, is that he's going to be doing coed collection with ZARA. Coed meaning male and female. It says here ZARA has conscripted designer Stefano Pilati to translate his much admired personal style into a capsule collection. About 50 styles for men and women. Also 50 styles for men, 30 for women, plus shoes and bags are expected to go on sale early October, backed by campaign lens Stephen Meisel. Jesus Christ. Contacted by WWD, ZARA confirmed the project and the Meisel shoot, but said other details are still under wraps. Best known for helming Yves Saint Laurent in Paris and Emmanuel Zegna in Milan, Pilati in recent years has devoted himself to Random Identities, his gender fluid menswear line he rooted last year with production and distribution handled by Dover Street Market in Paris. So that's going to be pretty interesting, because I feel like Random Identities is the perfect training ground for what he's going to do at ZARA, because the price points, or I guess the fabrication, manufacturing, production are probably going to be the same. So if he's able to do what he was able to do at Random Identities, he could easily do that at Zara. It's not like he's taking his vision of Yves Saint Laurent and trying to distill that to a high street. Maybe that'd be a harder jump to make. But because he's already done sort of like, you know, what you'll deem to be like a quote unquote high street brand with Random Identities, I think he can do the same thing with Zara easily. And the one thing that's funny actually about Zara over the years, I felt like they've probably needed this anyway. You know, they probably needed someone like him who's got his sensibility, his aesthetic, his style to do a collection like this, because I think it worked really well. I think even the Zara customers who don't know much about fashion and just like the cuts of what they do and just like how, you know, maybe how glitzy and refined and maybe simplistic and minimalistic and maybe high quality, or maybe how good some of the things make them feel, because sometimes when you wear a jumper from Zara and it's a little bit tight and shit, it can sometimes make you like stand up a little bit more straight. You know, it's got like a weird armory type of style vibe about it. Like you look at Asian guys from Ends when they're wearing their like double breasted you know, I don't know, pea coat that they purchased from Zara, you know, that was super popular during the winter. You can see them walking around like they're fucking Bane and shit. So clearly Zara clothing does something to a certain type of man. So you could imagine if Stefano Pilati has all this amazing tailoring and fashion experience, taking that and distilling that into Zara, I think it's going to work really fucking well. I'm honestly sure of that. It continues, says the Italian designer has also become, to his apparent puzzlement, an icon of young generation thanks to his imitable offhand elegance. The tall bearded designer has appeared on the cover of a number of magazines recently, including 10 and Japanese title Grind. Up next, he'll be fronting a large at-large magazine, according to sources. Pilati caught the attention of fashion insiders by modeling a Giorgio Armani styled by him for the fashion shoot in the Mirror Berlin in June 2022. Last year, Pharrell Williams conscripted Pilati to walk the runway for his debut Louis Vuitton collection. The high-profile event broadcast his compounding presence to the global audience. Yeah, that probably was the best look as well, by the way. That might be one of the best looks on that runway. The first Louis Vuitton collection by Pharrell. That look that he had with that amazing collarless jacket, the cardigan, the skirt, the fluffy socks, the shoes, so good. He's also seen in recent front row fixture on Dior's shows, thanks to his friendship with Kim Jones, a French Maison Men's artistic director. Jones, who moonlights at Fendi for the women's collections, last year tapped Pilati for the full collection under the Roman fashion house's new Friends of Fendi banner. Prized for his keen fashion instincts, voluptuous and distinctive tailoring, plus his knack for designing eye-catching shoes and handbags, Pilati possesses a personal je ne sais quoi, which is rare in menswear. He embraces his age, favors clothes that look good on him over what might be trendy, and carries himself with aplomb. So the funny thing about it is also, in recent years I've noticed, I'm not checking my Instagram as usual I did before, but in recent years I did notice he has been posting a lot more stuff on his Instagram stories of him being out and about. And I have noticed him like actually moving around and going to like, you know, queer gay nights and shit. I think last time I saw him, I think he might have been on his Instagram stories, I think he might have been somewhere in America. I think was it like DC Pride? I think there's like a really popular Pride event in the States within the black community. I think it might be DC Pride, one of them. So he's, you know, aesthetic wise, cultural wise, he's kind of out there, you know, out. So I'm curious to see if any of that influence will be, you know, will trickle down to Zara stuff, or what we'll see from him going forward. I'm really curious. I'm really fucking curious, because I feel like before with Random Identities, if I'm not mistaken, he was based in Berlin. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Berlin. So a lot of that clothing, you see that big chain with the massive like septum type of ball ring on the end of it. It's something that you'd imagine someone would wear at fucking Berghain. It looked very Berghain, looked very Watergatey, very Tresori type of vibe. But now that he's going out to all these like, you know, black gay queer nights and stuff, maybe he's going to like, you know, he's going to Vogue shows and whatnot. He's trying to maybe tap up fucking Frank Ocean, you know, and find out what fucking Ricardo Tisci got help with him and stuff. Maybe that will, you know, give us a different sort of vibe when it comes to stuff that he's doing now, going forward with Zara. But I'm curious to see what happens there. Can't wait. That collection will be super interesting to go see when it eventually does end up in the high street. So big up Stefano Pilati. I can't wait. I can't bloody wait. On the topic of all that, let's just bring it down and honor somebody here. So unfortunately some really sad news. Really, really sad news, actually. Big up to Crazy P, and RIP to Danielle Moore. Danielle Moore, the lead singer of Crazy P, unfortunately passed away at the age of 52. So RIP Danielle Moore, RIP Danielle Moore. This is courtesy of RA. It says the Manchester group called their lead vocalist sudden death unbelievable and shocking in a statement. Crazy P's Danielle Moore has died. The representative has told RA she was 52 years old. In a statement shared via Instagram account, the Manchester group called Moore's death on Friday, August 30th, sudden and tragic. Circumstances around it haven't been shared yet, so no idea on the cause and whatnot, which is probably not that important at this moment. Just important to probably acknowledge such a legendary force in dance music and whatnot. I'm sure some of you have heard some of the banging Crazy P hits from back in the day or from a few years ago, remixes all over the place. Definitely quintessential like party tracks, and whenever the vocals will come on, the person that you always hear will be Danielle Moore, so RIP to her. It continues on, it says, we cannot believe the news ourselves. We know it will be, it's not the same for all of you. She gave us so much, and we love her so much. Our hearts are broken. We need time to process this as it's happened. Formed at Notting Hill University in the late 90s by Chris Todd and Jim Barron, Crazy P released a debut album before Moore joined the ranks, expanding the group into a full band for the 2002 record, The Wicked Is the Music. Moore had been a staple of the Manchester nightlife before Todd and Barron brought her in. She would become a key architect of Crazy P's pop-minded hooks, naughty grooves, and legendary live sets over the next 2 decades. Danielle lived, driven by love, compassion, community, and music. Crazy P's statement concluded, she lived the biggest lives. We'll miss her with all our hearts. Read Crazy P's posts and other social media tributes below. So yeah, RIP Danielle Moore, man. Legendary artist, legendary vocalist. I feel like maybe one of my first records I probably even bought legitimately might have been a Crazy P record with her on the hook. I swear it might have been one of the major remixes I remember sort of like listening to was something to do with Crazy P. So everything, I think my first introduction to maybe dance music might have been something along their lines. So this is a real monumental loss to the scene and the industry at large. It says here, we're devastated to announce the unbelievable. This is courtesy of Crazy P Music on Instagram. We're devastated to announce the unbelievable and shocking news that our beautiful Danielle Moore has died in sudden and tragic circumstances. So maybe it wasn't something, maybe it wasn't like an illness or something. Wow, whatever it was, man. Jesus Christ, it looks like it's caught everybody off guard. This happened on Friday afternoon, August 30th. We cannot believe the news ourselves, and we know it will be the same for all of you. She gave us so much, and we love her so much. Our hearts are broken. We need time to process that, as it's just happened. Danielle lived a life driven by love, compassion, community, and music. She lived the biggest of our lives. We will miss her with all our hearts. Optimo, the DJ Optimo. So sad to hear what amazing. So sad to hear that the amazing Danielle Moore has left us. She was just the best. The definition of a beautiful human being. Heartbreaking. Seamus Hedgie. So shocked and saddened. This hurts. RIP Danielle Moore, the voice of Crazy P Music. Thoughts go out to all who loved her. Sister Bliss. Shocked to hear tragic news about the lovely and talented Danielle Moore, who supported Faithless on our tour back in the day. Had the pleasure of sharing the stage with so recently. They were going from strength to strength. Just awful. Rest in power, lady. There she is as well, looking beautiful. Oh, Danny, we all loved you so much. Our world would never be quite the same without you in it. Bill Brewster as well. Legendary guy. Fucking hell, man. Absolutely sad situation. Thoughts go out to her and her family. Can't even begin to, understand what they're probably going through right now. So thoughts go out to him and family. Thoughts go out to Danielle Moore and her family. R.I.P. Legends never die. R.I.P. Legends never ever die. Moving on. So, I'm not too sure if some of you guys know, but in London, a new very popping bar has popped up, and you would never guess which one it is. It's a lesbian bar. A lesbian bar in London has become all the rage. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's yapping about it. Everybody's going there. Blah, 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 blah. And I have to be honest, I'm actually surprised it's taken this long for something like this to even launch, because I feel like there's always been a demand. There's always been a demand within my little scene of hipsters and scenesters and heads and industry people, techno, whatever. I felt like there's always a gap in the market for a safe space for the lesbians to hang out anyway. I never understood why that wasn't something that somebody started before, because there are loads of gay bars, there's loads of gay clubs, but most of those you would imagine are usually kind of like, you know, populated and dominated by gay guys, right? And nowadays, there's probably a need for like queer spaces for people who present themselves as female presenting, you know, whatever, right? And you'd imagine a lesbian bar would be the perfect place for people who probably occupy or fall under the Flinter banner, the Flinter label. That's probably be the safe space for them, because they could probably go there and have no communication whatsoever with someone that looks like me, which is probably what they would want. So I'm surprised why that hasn't been something that they haven't done before, but I'm glad to see that it's popping up and doing really well. So this is courtesy of The Face. It says, lesbian bar, the people made happen. The name of it is called La Camionera. La Camionera is the only Flinter, female, lesbian, intersex, non-binary, trans and agender-owned lesbian bar in London. Now it's putting down its permanent roots. The funny thing about the place though, look who founded it. One of the most popular, groundbreaking lesbian bars in London was founded half by a dude. That's the funny thing about it, right? That's the funny thing. No matter how much they try, they just can't get away from us. They can't get away from us. But congrats to them anyway. So that's the founders of the actual bar itself. So congrats to them for opening it. Let's go back to the article. It says Alec Lovelace and their partner, Clara Solis, had no idea that opening the lesbian pop-up bar La Camionera would become a viral TikTok moment. Hundreds of sapics spilling out into the venue, commingling with their exes and exes down the East London Broadway market. But clutching cold pints outside the middle of February, it was clear that something was happening. The whole street is full of lesbians, a friend excitedly told the couple. Nearly half of Gen Z's Brits identify as something other than straight. What? Really? Nearly half of Gen Z's? Jesus Christos. And yet La Camionera is the only Flinter owned bar in London. It represents a milestone for the London's lesbians, but giving queer nightlife's thriving communities across the country, not to mention the fact that it's 2004, why does it still feel like a novelty? That's what I'm saying. Because we got there's a pretty good one as well. What's it called? Dawson Superstore. That's pretty awesome. But I'd imagine Dawson Superstore is also probably a little bit more gay friendly as opposed to Flinter and queer friendly. You would assume so, but I could be wrong. I met Lovelace and Solis in what feels more like a building site than a bar. Following that first viral pop-up evening in February, the pair threw themselves into the search of the permanent space for La Camionera, launching a crowdfunding campaign that brought in around 30,000 in the first 24 hours. If that's not proof that you've got an idea, I don't know what is. They raised £30,000 in the first 24 hours. That's proof that people were gagging for this bar, innit? It was crazy, says Solis. There's nothing like it in London, so people wanted it to make it happen. Recruiting an army of lesbian builders, what? Really? They had an old lesbian workforce building the whole place out. That's fucking crazy. I love that. Recruiting an army of lesbian builders, designers, plumbers and gardeners, the pair set to work on a new Hackney venue inspired of the local joints in La Manca, southern Spain, where Solis' family is from. When it's done, it will be really nice, says Lovelace, as the team of builders behind us. Oh, by the way, I think La Camionera, doesn't it mean like isn't it like another word for like a female truck driver or something, you know? If I'm not mistaken. I think that's where the name comes from. Sat on two windy wooden chairs by a wall of white tiles, which Solis says is hand-painted by an erotic blue balls. I asked the pair about the recent Instagram post addressing the flurry of comments asking whether the bar would be open to other demographics in the LGBT community. Yo, big up Don Dotto. Okay, cool. Thank you, Don Dotto. Appreciate you. I have to be honest, right? I hate this type of question. I'm a weirdo. I believe that you can create utopias in clubs. I believe that you can create these like semi-permanent spaces where people can unplug from the horrors of everyday life and while they get transported into your club, into your bar. You can do that. They don't last forever. You can't fucking drown your problems away because they'll be there tomorrow. You can't sniff them away. You can't peel them away. You can't fuck them away. But in that very small time that you have available to you, you can enjoy yourself and you can kind of forget all your troubles on the outside. So I don't have a problem with nightlife, with there being, in hospitality and nightlife in general, with there being spaces that are made specifically for a certain community of people. I think that's perfectly fine. But it's unfortunately, we live in a capitalist world, and sometimes if you limit the people who can come into your space, especially in places like London, it can kind of affect the amount of money you can make, and the amount of money you make will affect your ability to stay open. So if you can find a way to stay open and still only service your little community, I'm all for it. I don't feel discriminated against. I don't feel left out. I don't feel like rejected. I don't feel anything. I am happy that you're servicing your community and providing your community with a quote unquote safe space. That's perfect, because they don't really exist anywhere else. If someone could create a little hub where you guys can chill and hang out, have a good time and feel safe around each other, go for it. I'm all for it. I'm going to be rooting for you from across the street. Great, do your thing. But unfortunately, in the capitalist world, it's really hard to make that happen long term. But I feel like when people start blurring the lines, oh, it's lesbian, it's a lesbian bar, but does that mean if I identify as a woman that I could come in? It's like, come on, bro. Let them have their space. You know what I mean? There's plenty of other non-lesbian bars you can go to and have a good time. They've got one. Again, think about how multicultural, how diverse London is, that there's only one lesbian bar. It's pretty insane if you think about it. It doesn't make any sense, especially if you go out at night. You know that most popping nights in London, especially in the part of London that I live in, they're dominated by, especially on the dance floor. The only people you see there are fucking gays and lesbians anyway. So imagine, they're everywhere. They dominate the dance floor. They're the ones that create all the great parties. They have some of the best, you know, creatives in the scene. They're doing all the cool, interesting things, but they only have one bar they can go to after work and, you know, put their feet on the table, crack a smile, have a bit of a chin wag, and hang out with their fellow quote-unquote sisters. Come on, man. Come on. It continues. I don't often feel super welcome. Sorry, it says here, I don't often feel super welcome at queer nights. Wow. You know how weird that is? I don't often feel super welcome at queer nights unless I really change myself. Loveless, who is trans. I would go into these spaces where they're like, oh, yeah, oh, shit. So this person that's actually a trans person. My bad. I thought this person here was, okay, cool. That makes sense. Now I get it. Now I understand what's going on. Let's go back to the article. I don't often feel super welcome at queer nights unless I really change myself, said Loveless, who is trans. I would go into these spaces where they're like, oh yeah, trans people are so welcome. But they'd look at me and then go, what the fuck are you doing here? Oh, that's so wild. It's like me, I just what you call it, I just misgendered this person. I just from what you can see, it looks like a guy, but it's not. You're like, oh, okay. The bar's opening comes amid a wave of trans exclusionary legislations in the UK, from banning inclusive language in NHS documents to cracking down on gender-neutral toilets. Even within the LGBTQ plus community, trans people are othered. The UK's first lesbian members club, the L Community, is set to open up in Southwark later this year, and it's excluding trans women from joining. Fucking hell. What a weird, like, it happens all the time anyway. It's like black people, right? The most racist people within the black community are black people, right? Like the racism amongst like Africans, the racism amongst Caribbeans, the racism amongst fucking Africans v Caribbeans is fucking crazy. So I'm not surprised I'm not surprised it's the same thing in the fucking LGBTQ plus community. Everyone's kind of sniping at each other. Why do we have to capitulate to these definitions that no one can agree on? If you want to come to La Camionera, come here. I want to set a precedent that you shouldn't have to explicitly specify what you identify as. Oh, ho, 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 ho. If you want to come to La Camionera, come here. I want to set a precedent that you shouldn't have to explicitly specify what you identify as. Well, I still don't think I should go. You know, let them have their thing. Let them enjoy their thing. It looks fun. Happy they have it, but let them enjoy their thing. It doesn't take us to a point out that queer nights in the UK are facing significant challenges. Queer venues have been disproportionately affected by the living cost with 6 in 10 LGBTQ venues closing in 2006, 2022, according to Pink News. But it wasn't always this way, as in the early 1940s, London's lesbians would congregate in the dark cellar of the Gateway's pubs in King's Cross, Chelsea. Decades later, it was pretty much the only safe space to pick someone up, says Lisa Power, co-founder of the charity organisation Stonewall. Making passes at women, unless you were absolutely dead certain they were another lesbian or at least bi, was really risky thing to do. Secret establishments became the longest serving lesbian club in the world, frequented by the likes of BBC radio presenter DJ Ritu, artist Maggie Hambling, and Patricia Highsmith, who wrote the pioneering lesbian novel Carol in 1952. For some, however, the Gateway hasn't radical enough. The nightclub banned the Gay Liberation Front from meeting there and prohibited political flyers from the premises. Power once got chased out of the club for putting up a poster with the word lesbian on it. Jesus Christos. Lesbian parties spread across North London during the decade too. Stoke Newton became known as a lesbian mecca. Birthing bars such as Blush, Oak Bar. In Dawson, clandestine burlesque clubs emerged in derelict Chinese restaurants serving £1 vegan food. Then there was a Glass Bar, a hidden enclave filled with velvet drapes and fairy lights that just outside of Euston. So it seems like, for some reason, I'm not sure what the reason is, but it seems like from what they're trying to describe here, lesbian nightlife or lesbian safe spaces have always been a little bit more undercover, underground than gay bars, which is odd, isn't it? You'd think it'd be the other way around, but actually the lesbian bars were the ones that they had to really take care to kind of keep under wraps and not let people kind of find out that they were there and shit. For Nancy Keeley, director of Lesbian Visibility Week and executive director of lesbian magazine Diva, the bar was a sanctuary for the violent homophobia she experienced on the streets. It had this really magical feel to it. It's like entering a doorway into a different world. Exactly. And I think for once, it should be, they should try to, maybe because I'd imagine now that they're super popular, they probably do exclude, but I think they should try to exclude. I think they should try and keep it, hey, lesbians only. I know some of you dudes are allies. I know some of you dudes are cool. You might have lesbians, fucking friends, sisters, mothers, but let's just keep it lesbian only. So that the people that are coming there after work, if you actually want to go to a quote unquote safe space and put your feet up and just, you know, sit in a different environment that isn't fucking, you know, that isn't, you know, scented or doesn't have the stench of men, then you could go in this bar. I think that's pretty cool, but whether or not you can do that in London, I'm not too sure. You know, I'm not too sure if you can do that in London. I'm not sure if that's possible in London. I'm not too sure if it's possible in London. I think people here get really fucking annoyed at not being involved, and they make it into like a personal thing. Like, oh, you're telling me that I can't get in. It's like, bro, please, let's have one space, please, if you don't mind. It continues here. In 1985, the same year as the Gateway Club closed its doors, DJ Yvonne Taylor and Eddie Lockhart set up Systematic, a black lesbian-run sound system that ran monthly in parties in South London Women's Centre in Brixton. Yo, if it's hard being white and lesbian, can you imagine how hard it is to be black and lesbian within the African and Caribbean community? Woohoo! Woo! Could you imagine how hard it is to grow up in a household where you have your parents, like, you know, saying some dicey things about people within that community? Can you imagine coming out to your parents when you're like, when your mum and dad are from yard? Yo. Towards the turn of the century, however, venues began disappearing. Systematic closed in 1995 and Women's Centre lost its funding. The Glass Bar closed in 2008 and Candy Bar closed in 2014. Lesbian didn't and don't have the economic power that gay men and straight people have, says Power. That's really the problem in tracing the history of lesbian clubs. Apart from the Gateway, most of them didn't last that long. And to be fair, even in Berlin, when I went to Berlin, I wasn't looking for them, but I was always wondering that I was in there, because I think that was around the time people were debating around like snacks. I think it's snacks. There's like a night in Berghain that's like just for gay guys, and you're meant to just go there naked and shit. You just have to turn up in trainers, right? And I remember a lot of people basically said, that's one night, but they've also got a night in Berghain that's like specifically for the Flinter people. But I remember there was a debate and argument because a lot of the guys that would go to Snack were also going to Flinter nights. And it was like, hold on, you have your own night where you get to like fuck each other silly in the entire fucking building, right, for snacks. and we have this one Flint tonight, and you're also coming to that. It's like, come on, man, give it a break. Do you know what I mean? Let us have our own spaces. But no, then it made me wonder, like, why don't they have just like lesbian club nights? Like, why doesn't that exist in Berghain? I'm sure it could be viable. They could easily have like one Friday a month where they just have a lesbian night, and then it's just, you know, only quote unquote lesbians are allowed in. That might actually be pretty cool, because there's clearly a demand for it, because, you know, these guys raised $30,000 or £30,000, sorry, in only a few hours. That's fucking wild. On the one hand, the lack of permanent LGBTQ plus venues has given rise to an eclectic DIY scene pioneered by communities who felt othered in white and cis male dominated areas. I think the label of queer became a catch-all, which means that some specificities get lost and needs of specific communities get lost, says Rabs Laquizcoit. What's her name? Lanzicourt, co-founder of South London BPOC Prioritised Party Wet. These communities have felt like they need to create their own spaces. Agree. The options are dizzying. Sex worker-led Sex and Rage throws lesbian strip club parties in Dalston. Merengue celebrates fat queer culture with kaleidoscopic, chaotic parties. Last year, Systematic teamed up with Nitzy Dykes, or Night Dykes, sorry. That's a pretty cool way to spell Night Dykes. I quite like that. Night Dykes to revive the iconic Southampton parties and bring a generation of black lesbians together for a musical journey spanning lovers rock and dub and ballroom. Man, I felt really weird one time when I was sitting down thinking of ideas for parties. I was like, oh, I should do a party called like Niggas in Techno, right? Like a play on Niggas in Paris. And I was thinking of like t-shirt designs and flyer designs and shit. And I was like, oh, and I thought, oh no, that'd be a bit lame, right? Having like a techno party that's only for black people or something. But now that I hear this, I'm like, bro, maybe I was onto something. Maybe I was a freedom fighter. Maybe I should do that. Hey yo, big up Fashion Roman. What's good, brother? What's good? What's Chris Mack saying? The lesbians have been getting it rough lately, to be honest. Remember, Reddit was banning their communities for transphobia because they didn't like women pants with penises. What? The lesbians have been getting a rough time lately. Remember, Reddit banning their communities because of transphobia, because they didn't like women with penises. Oh, that's fucking yeah. I think they should be. I'm sure they're not going to be allowed to do it because London's weird with like excluding people, and you know, there's probably rules around it and it might get shut down. But they should be allowed to just be like, hey, if you have a dick, you can't come in. They should be allowed to do that. I think they should be allowed. There should be at least one safe space where all these people can go and have a good time and chill and relax without fucking being, you know, within the fucking, I don't know. Still, without permanent venues, running queer nights can be challenging. We're always in basements, says Becca Homer, who runs East London Dyke Party Strapped and 537 events. Venues never give us weekend nights because they think the lesbians only love to crochet. But to be fair, you also have to prove that you can sell tickets. I don't think it's fair to like complain that clubs are not giving you weekend nights, because weekend nights are only given to promoters who can guarantee they can sell tickets. So if you can guarantee you have a demand and that you're going to bring a ton of lesbians out and they're going to fucking buy up all the tickets, they're going to be buying drinks, cloakroom full, they're going to give you fucking a weekend night. They don't give a fuck who books it. Satanists, lesbians, you know, Tories, they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Not to say you guys are the same, but you know what I mean. Not having a permanent venue also means being in the mercy of the building owners and staff who aren't necessarily queer themselves. For many organizers, this means having to go over to LGBTQ plus disabled inclusion protocols before every event. We've had so many problems with security over the years, said Nadine Noor, founder of QTB Pot Club Night Pussy Palace. One of our main producers is trans woman, and they've been transphobic to her before. I think this is a little bit, again, I think this is a good thing, because I think for the longest time, a lot of London club nights were quite lazy. A lot of London club nights were just about going into a space, having a DJ performing on a black table, and that's it. I think having to have a lot of these communities maybe go above and beyond and hire their own security or hire security that is trained how to deal with people from the, you know, LGBTQ flinter scene. I think that's a good thing, because what it means is that you are putting a lot more care and attention into what you do. You're being a little bit more, you know, you're going above and beyond to make sure that people's experience and raving and what you're doing is really good, which is what the clubs in Europe do. They already have it already instilled, but they do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? That's why the experience when you go places like Amsterdam and Berlin is so much better than London, because of those little details, right? From the person at the door, from the person taking your ticket, person doing the cloakroom, everyone's been considered. Everyone knows Wagwan. Everyone's very comfortable with the people they're going to be seeing and shit. They're going to be dealing with them a certain way. I think that's the way to go about things. So this is obviously more of a necessity sort of thing, and I think it's going to serve everyone right in the long run. Some have responded to the venue challenges in different ways. Yuhul Dyke Rescue has built an old school American-inspired portable van that will rock up at parties and festivals, serving pints and hosting arm wrestling matches. But as Noor says, we are queer people who have constantly lived in temporary. We need permanent spaces too, because we have something permanent. Then you're able to grow the roots. Yeah, I agree with that. That's true. That's very, very true. On a balmy evening, La Camionera finally opened its permanent doors. The building was still rough around the edges. Sure, the toilet didn't have handles. They've since been fitted, and the food menu had yet to begin. But the tiny vases of pink and purple and blue flowers, takeaway pizza, and portable speaker playing sweet, sugary tunes, London's second lesbian bar, was already a success. The team is now waiting for a court hearing, which will determine their license. Right now, they're only allowed 36 people in the venue. Really? Also, it's not really a bar. It's like they've opened like a space, but to get like an actual bar license, they need to apply. But Loveless is looking for the future. I just hope that people continue to show up. The whole idea behind the project was to make a permanent space. I really want that to have longevity. So yeah, more power to La Camionera. Honestly, really amazing venue. To see this exist in London is very fucking rare. Glad to see they're around. Hopefully they can stick around. Hopefully they can get that late license. Hopefully they can continue servicing their community, putting on great nights, entertaining people, providing them with a fucking safe space and all that malarkey. And it just exists as need be. They don't need to do anything else crazy, and it just can just exist. Even if it exists and it doesn't hang around for long, the fact that they have this space and they can kind of create their little stories and shit and play a role in people's lives for however long they're around would be a good thing. So I'm glad to see it. Glad to see it exist, and may it long continue. May it long continue. Big up Chris Mack. It's wild, man. Like, why would you want to intrude into a space where you're clearly not watched? Exactly. But yeah, more power to La Camionera. More power to La Camionera. Continuing on. So, I quickly went to touch upon this because I thought this was incredibly important to touch upon and talk about. So, as some of you guys would know, Katy Perry, I think the album's out already. I think Katy Perry's album has already dropped. I'm pretty sure it has. But there's been a lot of like stick around Katy Perry because she's working with that guy called Dr. Luke. And Dr. Luke got into a lot of trouble because he was accused by Kesha of being very abusive. I think at the end, the charges either got settled or dropped. No, I think they got settled, if I'm not mistaken. I think they got settled out of court. But essentially, Kesha accused Dr. Luke of being very abusive. I think some sexual harassment stuff was also levied at him. And then I think some other people also came out and said some not so nice things about Dr. Luke and how he acts and treats people, especially within the music industry. So in general, it feels like there's been a little bit of a, communicado X on Dr. Luke. People not really fuck with him. They kind of keep him on that side. So whenever a big artist is linked to Dr. Luke, the first question that comes to people's mind is like, oh, were you obligated to do this record because it was already set in stone? Or is this something that you went out to do despite his dodgy allegations around him? And I think that the same thing was levied at Doja Cat and I think a few other people. So when Katy Perry announced her new album and people found out that Dr. Luke was going to be involved in the production of some of the records, people were obviously upset and have been trying to get answers out of Katy Perry. She, rightfully and correctly so, has been avoiding answering those questions. I think when they did try to get her one time, she kind of pretended that she couldn't hear and that she was deaf or something. So she's been doing that really well. But I guess in this particular clip, she sat down with a girl from Cooler Daddy, Alex Cooper, and she couldn't avoid it. So she had to get asked that question. And the way she answered it is fucking wild. So she finally had to answer, why she's working with Dr. Luke and why her fans, and kind of explain to her fans why she did something that kind of upset them. And the answer that she gave was interesting to say the least. Let me play it for you so you can hear what I mean. Very, very interesting.
I know a lot of people have expressed disappointment and were really upset that you decided to involve Dr. Luke on this album. Why did you choose to work with him?
Look, I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with. But the reality is it comes from me. The truth is I wrote these songs from my experience of my whole life going through this metamorphosis. And he was one of the people to help facilitate all that, one of the writers, one of the producers. And I am speaking from my own experience. Like when I speak about Woman's World, I speak about feeling so empowered now as a mother, as a woman, giving birth, creating life, creating another set of organs, a brain, a heart. I created a whole ass heart and I did it and I'm still doing it and I'm still a matriarch and feeling really grounded in that. That's where I'm speaking from.
Yeah.
And so I created all of this with several different collaborators, people that I've collaborated with from the past, from Teenage Dream era, all of that.
So as you can tell, she didn't really answer the question. She just waffled, meandered, went around in circles, and didn't really answer it. And I'm confused. If you're her at this point of your career, you're Katy Perry, you're a very well-established, legendary pop act. You don't really need to answer why you decided to do anything. You don't really need to explain any of your creative choices because of who you are and the work you've done prior. You don't really owe anybody an explanation. So why even bother explaining? Because we know why you hired him. Because as we all know, within the arts and entertainment, some of the greatest people are also some of the horriblest people. Some of the most talented people, some of the most accomplished people sometimes have very checkered, very dicey, very horrible, very disgusting past. And sometimes presents. And sometimes future. But if you want to create great work, you sometimes have to collaborate with these people. You have to work with these people. You have to seek their counsel. And you're going to have to decide if morally, principally, you can kind of be okay with that. And if you can, then it's fine. Go do it. But you also have to be aware that the decision that you make will have ramifications and will lead to your fans questioning why you did this. It might lead to your fans maybe looking at you a different way. It might lead to you even losing some fans. You have to be okay with having that. But I feel like nowadays in the world we live in, people want everything. They want the ability to work with problematic people and not be questioned. They want the ability to work with problematic people and not lose fans. They want to work with problematic people and not have to answer for themselves. They want to have it all. And I think you can't have it all. But one way you can have it all is by just keeping quiet and not explaining yourself in any way, shape, or form possible. Because you're never going to appease anybody. You're never going to make anyone happy. Now, to be fair to Kesha, to be fair to Katy Perry, I haven't looked into the Dr. Luke allegations too tough, but assuming it's just a standard, sex pest, harassing, horrible douchebag that you get in the music industry that are 10 a penny, maybe some of these people know what they're dealing with. Maybe some of them are aware that this guy is the way he is. Maybe some of them are aware that maybe some of them have come to the conclusion that maybe he did it only to that one person who he was kind of maybe wasn't dating, who knows. And maybe they come to the conclusion like, you know what? This isn't like a pattern of behavior. This is an isolated incident. It happened. I asked the person straight up, did they do it? They said no. I took them on their word and I'm working with them. That might be the real answer. It doesn't sound nice, right? Because if you're like Katy Perry and you're very against, sexual predators and whatever working in the industry, maybe this has been a big betrayal. But I think the grown-up response and the reality of the situation is that sometimes the most talented people are sometimes the worst people also, outside of what they do. And you're going to have to kind of come to that decision. You're going to come to that, fork in the road at one point in your life where you think, oh shit, I'm going to have to decide now what way I have to turn. Because I had a similar situation this year. Sorry, with P. Diddy. I thought P. Diddy this year put out one of the best albums of the year with that Love album. I think it came out this year, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Red album. I'm pretty sure it came out this year. But this year was also the year that it got uncovered that Diddy was a horrendous person. Beat up Cassie on camera, has been accused of numerous, offenses that he likely will end up going to prison for, you would assume. So it's proof again that on one hand, he was able to create one of the greatest albums, of his career in the midst of him also being investigated for being an abuser, maybe being a rapist, maybe being a this or that, whatever, human trafficker and stuff. So it's no surprise to me in the slightest. So I guess in this regard, if you're Katy Perry, you're like, you know what? I've done some I've done some great records with this guy. He gets me. We understand each other artistically, but he's still got this cloud above him. If I can figure out what this cloud above him is and figure out which way I want to go, I'm going to be able to create some memorable art that will stand the test of time, because maybe a lot of these artists are like, you know what? This great art will probably last longer than people's bad feelings about him and the things that he may or may not have done to Kesha. Maybe that's part of it. I'm not really too sure. But I think in this particular situation, Katy Perry should have never answered the question. She clearly didn't answer it anyway. And if anything, it's probably made the situation worse. That's the really sad thing. The moment she was quiet about it, everyone kind of, I will say forgot about it, but it maybe moved on. But now it makes the situation even worse, because now it feels like you knew what was happening and you just turned a blind eye, which is a lot of people online don't like that, right? They want their artists to be activists and to be as pissed off and, you know, motivated and whatever, to kind of care about the things that they care about, when most of the time they don't. They just want to make great records, they want to make money, they want to put on shows, and they want to keep on living. That's basically it. So let's see how it works out for Katy Perry. But yeah, Katy Perry didn't really answer the question here. And if anything, maybe a lot of these questions are unfair to even put to her anyway. Maybe these are questions that should be levied at Dr. Luke. Maybe Dr. Luke should sit down with somebody and try to clear his name, or try to maybe clear up some of the common held misconceptions about his situation with Kesha, so that people can find out, so people can make a decision one way or another where they stand, you know? But at the moment, they can't, because the details are a little bit all over the place. No one actually knows what actually happened, what actually went on. So everyone's trying to basically piece it together as they go on. So who knows? Who bloody knows? Continuing on. I also wanted to play this clip. This is courtesy of the Joe Budden podcast. And this clip, I'm not going to lie, it really pissed me off. And it pissed me off because this sort of stuff, I feel like, is only really a podcast topic. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure real women out there don't actually think like this. But I think a lot of these podcast topics about sex and relationships and stuff, I think, unfortunately, they do have an adverse effect in the real world. And I feel like some normal people watch this sort of stuff and think this is how they actually should be thinking and how they should be navigating the world. And then it ends up being something that kind of populates all over the place. So I would not like to live in that kind of world, personally. So when I hear these type of things, it just frustrates me. And on the other side of things as well, it's just another one of these bird brain topics. And you're like, why does it only seem to be the only thing that, you know, urban, quote unquote, black podcasts are really good at are these type of topics? This is where we sort of like excel at. These are where these topics go 10 times platinum. They go viral all over the place. This and beef. But when it comes to actually building things, you know, when it comes to financial things, when it comes to investment things, when it comes to career things, whatever, those clips don't really go as viral as these fucking nonsense clips. But let's watch it anyway, so you can see why I was so angered.
Because, all right, look, right, after my big celebrity didn't work, right, boom, I try to go the different route. I'm like, let me be a regular 9-to-5, but he was a business owner of his own business, so he wasn't like an athlete or nothing like that. He was a regular guy because he had his own business. So
imagine that. Imagine her having to lower herself to not only dating a normal guy, but having to date a normal guy that owns his own business. That's the furthest down that she will go, from dating an athlete and a rapper and all these type of people. The only time that you'd ever date a regular person if they own their own business. Not too sure about you, but there's not a lot of regular dudes out there that own their own business. That's not how it works. A regular dude is a regular dude that works a regular job, not a regular dude that also happens to have a business. That's not a regular dude. That actually is a dude who you should probably put in the same category as the athlete and the rappers. Really.
He was even crazier than the other ones because what? It's like they're jealous. You know, he used to hear my ex's song on the radio and he used to get mad. And I used to be like, bro,
you're singing in that little school.
Oh God, I used to be like, bro, if I wanted to be with that person, I would tell them, I'd be like, babe, I'm with you right now. If I wanted to be with that person,
that doesn't sound like good. That doesn't sound good to my ears. somebody telling me, hey, if I wanted to be with that person, trust me, I could. I'm with you. That sounds like a threat. You know? That sounds like a threat. Like, if you piss me off tonight, I could fuck this guy in 2 seconds, you know? That's what it sounds like.
I would.
But that's not exclusive to just regular guys.
And that don't really make me feel better, telling me if you want to fuck. Yo, if I want to fuck with him, I can right now. Right now. He just wished me happy birthday.
That's the shit that getting bitches
And I text
packed
back.
up.
That nigga shit play all the time on the radio. And that nigga shit play all the time on the radio.
Yeah. She don't. Yeah, bitch, you gotta stop saying that.
You gotta
want to
stop
make
saying
something
that.
very clear though.
So which
for
one was your
ladies.
favorite though? Was it like?
I don't know.
More
It definitely
comfortable.
wasn't.
She just told
it
you it's over for
definitely-
these Whole Foods niggas, man.
It definitely wasn't a celebrity. Like I'm good on that.
Got it.
That's a lot.
So the business owner was more comfortable and more like.
Yeah, but
more
you know, he
smooth.
still had his negative parts. Everyone has
Got
their
it.
negative parts.
Right.
But I would rather, you know, a regular person. Like,
I just want to make something very clear though for the ladies. I feel like we just cannot fuck with no nigga that's a fan. Period.
Fan of who?
Yeah.
That sounds so weird
Of
to
yours?
me.
Yeah, like you cannot fuck with no nigga.
You trying to get attacked. You trying to get attacked.
I get what you're. I get what you're saying.
You know Instagram. I'm about to block.
Please.
I'm just saying, those niggas that
Expound.
been wanting you for years, that they've been after you for years.
They
Once they
still
finally
waste your
get you,
time.
they do you the worst. You cannot fuck with no nigga that's a fan.
Yeah, you hurt.
I'm so that ass. Like those
Who
niggas that
did
been
that?
after you for
Who did that? But who did
2017.
that?
Who did
I've
that?
seen it in my real life.
Have you seen
with
it?
all of my friends?
Have you also seen it happen to men? Like women be fans of them and then they plot and they finally get them.
All the time in the news, we
It's
hear
like
about
getting the car
niggas getting
but
trapped.
I wish they ain't really that good.
Who cares?
I really
Anyway, you get the point. So, in this particular conversation, the idea that guys have to like match up to, or they have to tick so many boxes just to have the pleasure and the honor and the luck or whatever to be in contact with ladies like this just boggles my mind, because it's almost, I ask myself, like, what do you bring to the table then apart from your looks? If that guy has to be like, he can't, it's not just enough to be a regular guy who has a job. That's already top marks, because there's loads of guys out there that are regular but don't have jobs and don't want to have one. So he's a regular guy that has a job, clearly has his responsibilities in check, maybe has a good head on his shoulders, looks after his family, maybe is a good member of his community, helps out his parents, his friends, whatever. You know, stand up dude. That's not enough. He also has to own his own business, which is not easy. To be a business owner is not easy, but you have to be your own business. You have to be a business owner, but not the type of business owner that works 7 days a week, 10 hours plus per day. No. You have to be the business owner who has a business, but is also able to go to like Turks and Caicos midweek and just hang out. Who's able to go to Las Vegas at a drop of a hat. Who's able to go to Toronto, Miami, all these places. Like, so you want somebody that has their own money, but doesn't have to work hard for it, can go on trips, can do this, can do that, and all you bring to the table is looks. I know for sure these women are this is a very specific type of lady. This is not the case for everybody across the board. But I do have a feeling like these ladies, even though they're very specific and they have a niche, and I'm sure they have a lot of people that are after them and will supply them and provide them with the lifestyle they require. Weirdly enough, even though they're a niche, I feel like these ladies have an untold, an unrealized level of influence across the board. Like, they will start to have influence and start to, you know, permeate within like regular girl circles, so that they then start to think, yeah, you have to be this, you have to be that, even just to talk to me or to get with me. And it's like, bruh, really? I have to tick all these boxes just to holler? I have to be this person just to holler? Is that how it works? I don't think that's fair in the slightest. That guys have to match up or have to hit these certain levels just to get the ability to conversate, and then these people just rock up with their hair and their looks, and that's it. Nothing else to contribute to the situation. I think that's a little bit lame, personally. I think it's a little bit lame. And I also find it hilarious that Joe Budden, doesn't he look like he collects all the money? Don't you find that interesting? That he looks like he's the one that makes all the money on this pod. Like, all of the salary goes to him. The majority of the income goes to him. He's head to toe in Gucci, looking like $1 million, probably smelling like $1 million. Everyone else on the couch looks very regular. Joe's the one that looks like makes all the money. I find that funny. And I find it funny how comfortable he is looking like that amongst people. Me personally, I'd want everyone to look the same as me or match my environment. Joe doesn't mind standing out and looking like $1 million amongst all these employees that are probably making far less than him, which, is understandable given it's his own pod, but you think, spreading the wealth a little bit would be a little bit more of a better way to go about things. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Talking about things I'm not wrong about, let's talk about Man United. So news has just come across my social media feed that United are exploring a sale of Casemiro to Galatasaray. Galatasaray have just confirmed the loan signing of Victor Osimhen, which is really crazy because Victor Osimhen is one of the the hypest strikers out on the market right now, linked with Chelsea. Was going to go to other Champions League winning or potential winning kind of sides out there and shit, and just really kind of the striker that everyone's kind of got on their lips and whatever. And in the end, he ended up falling out with the Napoli higher brass, and now he's going to be playing on loan at Galatasaray, which is probably a really big pull for them. He probably is way better than that Turkish league and should be playing, obviously, in a far more competitive league for a better team. But regardless, it looks like they're not stopping there. They also want to sign Casemiro on loan. Now, I think this is bullshit in the sense of just because Casemiro had a very public and obvious bad game against Liverpool, he made 2 very bad mistakes that led to 2 goals. And now everybody is pointing at him. Kind of, I feel like people are pointing in Casemiro's direction as a way to say that United are terrible because of Casemiro. I think that is unfair and not true. Because in the second half, when Casemiro was hooked and replaced him with Collier, look what happened. Exactly. Maino played in this position. Maino got robbed of the ball, and we also conceded a 3rd goal. So clearly it's to see that even though Casemiro does make a lot of unforced errors, Casemiro does probably make way too many unforced errors. Casemiro is probably a midfielder that we probably should have got rid of after the first season, or tried to phase out of the first team after the first season. We should have made sure to get rid of him at least now, heading into the first season. The fact that we're relying on him solely is really concerning, especially considering the way that Erik ten Hag wants to play with this particular team. That position of DM is probably very important to win the ball back, to transition the ball, all these malarkey, and to intercept. But Casemiro is not really strong at that. And when he has a bad game, he has a really, really bad game. He doesn't do no in-betweens. So, I feel like the United brass, Erik ten Hag, they're looking for a scapegoat. And Casemiro is the most convenient scapegoat you can get because he did play terribly. And I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that will be willing to drive this guy personally to the airport for him to go to Turkey. But the thing that I don't like about this is that we don't have much cover in that defensive midfield position. That's why I said we should have signed Amrabat. I don't think Amrabat pulled up any trees. He wasn't really amazing during his loan spell for United, apart from the last 3 games of the season. But I felt like he's a good enough squad option. And if, we've relied on players far worse than him over the years, but I felt like Amrabat would have been a great squad option just in case the first 2 options in that position were ever to get injured or suspended. You've got a player who can come in and obviously do a good enough job. At the moment, we don't have that. At the moment, if we do want to let go of Casemiro, we're going to have to play that kid there, and I don't think that's fair to have him play now, especially while he's probably not that ready yet to play in such a position, given the current predicament United are in. So if getting rid of Casemiro would only make sense if we will go out and get a loan to cover him. But I feel like now, even, I would go as far as saying that after those 2 mistakes that Casemiro did, and considering his honours and his experience, he probably owes it to himself to want to stay and prove the doubters wrong and kind of correct those performances, or correct that particular performance with some good string of performances. That's what I would have done. That's what personally I would have probably been more infused about, as opposed to running away from United, because we're terrible. We know we are. He can still leave in January if he wants to. There's no rush to leave right now. If I was him, Casemiro, I'd kind of buckle down and make sure I can correct those errors from last time, and make sure that when we next play, I do put in a far better performance than this. But for United, I don't think we can let go of Casemiro without bringing a low signing in. We just can't do it. We honestly can't do it. Hope it doesn't happen. And then in other United news, we got this really funny update courtesy of the Zone Portugal. A quote from Bruno Fernandes. Brilliant quote, right? I'm perfectly aware that this Manchester United is not ready to win the Premier League. We are indeed fighting for the title with the concrete and real objective of trying to finish in the top 4 in the places that give access to United Champions League or UEFA Champions League. So Bruno Fernandes is confirming that nobody in the club thinks we can win the league at any time soon. And he's also confirming to us that he signed a contract extension. I think it was a 3-year contract extension. Basically to finish his, the peak years of his career at this club. He signed that contract extension basically for the money. Because he knows that we have no chance of winning the league. We're competing to finish in the top 4. We're not guaranteed to finish in there. So he essentially signed a contract extension to be at a club where we just hover in the top 10. Just to collect the check. That just shows you where we are as a club. That just shows you how far we have to go. That we have our captain, our talisman, our main man in our team telling us that he's only here for the salary, really. He knows we're very far away from winning the Champions League, let alone the Premier League. So you know what? While I'm here, let's have a good time. Let's play some fun matches. Let's get some fucking numbers on the board. It's like, bruh, I don't want to be hearing this from my captain. Even if this is the truth, I don't want to hear this from him. Like, lie to me at least. Make me believe that we have hope within the next few years of maybe challenging. I don't want my captain on my side saying this. But it is, again, maybe evident of what we see on the pitch from Bruno Fernandes. This sort of like acceptance of the situation. This maybe refusal to try to change it. Maybe this is what we're getting on the pitch also. This might be part of it. This might be part of it. But very illuminating interview he did there with DAZN Portugal. He doesn't think United are going to win the league anytime soon, and we're a top 4 club. So basically, United are the new Chelsea. Sorry, United are the new Arsenal, not even new Chelsea. We're the new Arsenal. Top 4 is a trophy. Top 4 is a trophy. Continuing on. Let's talk about this news, courtesy of Just Fresh Kicks, regarding the JJJJound 2 New Balances colors for 2024. Now, these are featured in the capsule collection I spoke about earlier with Levi's. The model actually wore a pair, but I forgot to actually comment on them. So Just for Kicks, I put this together and said JJJJound has made their approach to New Balance an annual release over the last few years. They've got new colorways coming across in the 993 in 2 neutral schemes due to drop at the end of 2024. So these are the colorways that we've got here. They said 2 neutral. Okay, cool. You got 2 neutral schemes. So you've got this colorway, which is, I would assume, more of like an olive greeny type of color with black, which is quite nice. It's got a full black midsole and outsole, and then on the upper you have a majority of that kind of khaki greeny type of outsole or upper, sorry. And then you've also got the black accents, which make it look really cool. I actually really like this section here at the front, where you got the mix of this sort of like olive, whatever colorway this is, with the black bits here on the toe box. I think that looks really cool. And then the other colorway the model's wearing is the quintessential grey New Balance as well. They're wearing them there in that nice suede mix, and it's available there as well in that same setup and color as well. So both colorways look really fucking cool. No idea when they're gonna drop. I'm assuming maybe end of the year, as Just Fresh Kicks mentioned. And because of that Levi's collab that just dropped as well, you'd imagine end of the year will make more sense apart from next year, probably. But there's no date, courtesy Just for Kicks, but those are there. Then we also have this particular shoe to check about, the Air Jordan 1 Black Toe Reimagined. I'm sure some of you remember the Black Toe Jordans coming out a few years ago, retros, but now they're going to be reimagined. So the reimagined pair basically take the original Jordan shoe and silhouette from the vintage pair from the 80s, and they basically build it again from the ground up and make retros that look the same as that. So you got the stained outsole. I think you got a bit of crinkling here on the collar. You got the no wings on the what you call it, on the flap here at the top. You got the Air Jordan stamp here instead, regardless. And you've also got a really premium, high quality leather on the up, as you can kind of see from this picture. And of course, you got the stained yellow midsole to kind of give it that vintage effect, which is pretty cool. The blurb says, joining the Chicago offering, the black toe variant is right up there in terms of demand and hype. In-hand images, the 2024 offering is just surfaced. The pair features a premium leather, much like the Lost and Found pair, and offering a branded as usual Nike swoosh and the sides. In addition to the features, the pair will also have MJ signature on the left inner. Oh wow, yeah, I forgot about that. It's true. So you got that Air Jordan sign here on the outside, which replaces the wings. But then you've also got a signature. I would prefer it if it was white. I'm looking, or some sort of color. So you've got like a signature, a Michael Jordan signature here on the inside. That's kind of written in this sort of like tonal, calm looking font thing on the side, which looks kind of cool itself. But I would have probably preferred if they did added some color to it. But I'm sure you could do it yourself if you needed to be. You could probably rub a bit of crayon on top of this and probably color whatever color you want. But the actual quality of the leather looks really good, even from these pictures. The pictures aren't that great quality, and I'm zooming into them, but even from here you can tell the shape is really good, and the color, sorry, the material quality is really fucking good also. So big up Nike, big up Jordan Brand for dropping these. Is there a date on these actually? Did I check the article? Is there a date? Yeah, release date is meant to be October 18th, according to Just Fresh Kicks. October 18th for these bad boys, retailing at $180. They look really fucking good. I like all of them. There you got the Michael Jordan logo, or what you call it, signature there on the side. Got a big image of the shoes as well. But yeah, I'm all for it. I can't wait to see when these eventually drop. I love a good Jordan 1 me. I'm not the biggest fan of retros too much, but when the actual Grail retros come through, you have to purchase. You have to flipping purchase. Next, we also got this, another return of an iconic Jordan 5 retro, which is one of the most iconic sneakers of all time. I feel like there was a time where every sneakerhead had at least one pair of these in their collections. So I can't wait for these to come back also. They look fucking fire. As you can see here, these are also going to be done to vintage specifications. Again, maybe I'll try and wear these laceless as well. When I think about these as well, I automatically think of Theophilus London. That's the first person that comes to mind. When I think of Jordan 5s, I think of Theophilus London. So these look super fucking cool. And you've also got the Nike air tag on the back here. It's 3M. I'm pretty sure the original OGs weren't 3M. That might be a little new addition. Not too sure if I remember them being 3M on the hill, but I ain't mad at it in the slightest. But they look so tough. Like, look how hard these look. I'm all over those Jordan 5s. I swear to God I am. They look so fucking good. You got this nice black, I guess you're going to call it nubuck upper completely. You got a nice silver mesh here on the side of the shoe itself. And you got the black midsole, and then you got the clear blue icy outer sole. That looks so fucking good. That I forgot how blue the actual outer sole of the Jordans looks actually, especially when you get them new. They look so freaking good. I love everything about them things. I love everything about them things. So yeah, they're meant to be dropping soon. When's the date? I think it's the 18th. No, is it? Wow, really? February the 8th. I got to wait all that long. It's next year, 2025. Damn. Air Jordan 5 OG black metallic, release date February 8th 2025. Oh yeah, no time no soon. Okay, cool. I guess February might be a good time because, you know, summer might be quote unquote around the corner. Get a chance to fucking show off them fucking Jordans and shit, you know what I mean? So maybe that's the case. But either way, love a good Jordan 5. Not gonna lie, love it so much. Love it so much. Continuing on, we've also got these courtesy of Just Fresh Kicks. Very upsetting news for me. I fucking hate these shoes, but I think they're gonna do numbers on the streets. I think they're gonna do absolute numbers on the streets. So it's courtesy of Just Fresh Kicks. It says the Nike Shox R4 OG is returning September 11th. Now I'm sure most of you remember Shox from back in the day. When I was growing up, a lot of the people that used to wear Shox were breakdancers, or just like, you know, swaggy Filipino boys that bagged all the ladies. So I used to hate them for that. But I generally just hated the shape. And I think back then as well, I had humongous feet. Or no, I had the same feet I have now, size, I had when I was, you know, in fucking secondary school. So you can imagine how fucking annoying it must have been to be walking around the school and have people calling you, you know, what you call it, elephant foot or duck flappers and shit, whatever. It is what it is. But these particular Shox, this particular colorway are going to do numbers, because the other one as well that will do numbers is the all white pair or the silver pair. They do numbers, but this particular one, I think the kids and the fashion scenester people, they're going to be so all over these. They're going to be so all over them. I hate everything about them. If anything, one thing that I would probably like better if they did on Shox is maybe like a double spring, maybe an ability to make it a bit higher. I think the sole is just too low. This front bit is just too bulky. It's just all over the place. It really is all over the place. Anyway, but what can you do? Nike is bringing back the classic Shox R4 in its original color in 2024. The Nike Shox R4 OG revives the groundbreaking design that made its wave in the early 2000s. The 2024 release stays true to the original, featuring sleek black upper paired with metallic silver overlays. The standout detail, however, is the vibrant red shock pillars that provided not only a visual impact but also a responsive cushioning for every step. The combination of those elements gives the shoe its iconic look, which still resonates with sneakerheads today. So yeah, very popular shoe, as you can tell, but for me, so fucking ugly. Legitimately one of the worst shoes I've seen in my entire life, but I know they're going to do numbers on the streets. People are going to go absolutely crazy for them when they drop. You're going to see fucking Portuguese kids walking down the street with these, wearing shorts and shit. It's going to be a mess out there, honestly. But I'm happy for them that they got their shoe. I'm happy for them that they got their shoe. I'm happy for them that they got their shoe. What else do we have here? What else do we have here? We also have, last couple of ones before I leave, we have a Nike Dunky Low Halloween releasing also in October 2024. The best thing I like about these, I'm not really the biggest Dunk fan, but the thing I like about it the most is the toe box. That is a new idea. I've not really seen that applied anywhere on a Nike shoe. So if you're not watching, the toe box has basically been designed with a skull that's been almost, I'm not too sure if that's been like stuck on top or if the actual toe box itself has been sort of printed to look that way. But they basically made that front toe box area into a skull design, which looks pretty fucking cool. I really like that design, I'm not gonna lie. The rest of the shoe I'm not really too bothered about, but I think that particular toe box design thing is really cool, and I'd love to see that practice or that process be implemented on other shoes. I think it worked really fucking well, but I'm not mad at this Nike Dunk and the way they're doing it on there. I'm not mad at what they're doing on there, and I'm assuming they're going to be releasing this year, right? Yeah, this year Halloween, you'll be able to get another pair of your flipping, you know, shoes and whatnot. So big up them, big up them. Anyways, my friends, that is it for me. Thank you for tuning in to the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 813. If it's your first time checking out the show, please make sure you like the stream down below. Don't be stingy, don't be lame. Make sure you like the stream down below. For those of you listening to the audio side of the podcast, I'm going to be playing for you my tune of the day. And my tune of the day today will be a lovely, delightful song from Crazy P. Again, RIP to Danielle Moore. Gone but not forgotten, and legends never really die anyway. But thoughts and feelings go out to her fans and family. Can't even imagine what they're going through right now. Must be super painful, especially with her passing coming out of the blue, as per some of the statements. So in honor of Crazy P, in honor of Danielle Moore, I'm going to be playing a track for the audio people called Never Gonna Reach Me, the Hot Toddy remix. So if you're listening to that, you shall have a good time, live a smile on your face, and pour one out for Danielle Moore. For the rest of you, thank you for tuning in and checking me out. I appreciate you greatly, and I'll see the rest of you on the random show in a few hours. But for now, take care, be safe, everybody. Peace.